Hey, it's John Trout here, Cider Blossom Orchard. It's a Sunday afternoon. It's a warm Sunday afternoon. I would classify yesterday as hot. Yesterday we were low 90s, really humid, very uncomfortable outside. Today it's more comfortable, the humidity's better, and we hit about 90 degrees today. Things in the orchard are growing full swing. The apples are growing larger, the trees are growing larger. In a week's time, there is a lot of things that change out here in the orchard. What I want to do today is go over some of the maintenance items that we have with some of the apple grafts that we put on. We did a couple of these on camera about a month ago, and I marked a couple of those trees that I grafted on video, and we'll go back and we'll look at those trees and see how they're growing, and then we'll follow up with some others and just see some of the maintenance issues that we have, and really we have to do with grafts in the summertime. These aren't in a nursery bed, so they are in their spot, their long-term location here in the orchard, and they take just a little bit of extra care out here versus a nursery bed. We'll also take a look at some of the rye. Some of it I cut, and it's regrowing. It was cut a little early in places. Some of it had gotten to that dough stage and was ready, but some of it's coming back. We'll take a look at that, and then I've got some rye that I never bothered with, and we'll take a look at just how that looks here on June the 7th. So a lot going on in the orchard, and it's a great time. So thanks for joining me, and let's go have a look. Boy, that breeze feels good. Okay, so as noted, here is one of the orange ties indicating this is one of the grafts that we did on camera. Now if we go down here and get a closer look, we can see that the graft is taken. Let's see, here is where that graft was made, right there, and this is the growth that we've got. I certainly need to clean this up. We need to get all of this vegetation off underneath the graft. This is on the rootstock. We don't want any of that growing. And then we want to, again, pinch out and get a central leader. This is a prime time to get a central leader on these young grafts, so we can grow one main stem up. This is when that needs to happen. Right now, it is first week of June, and it's time to make it happen. So let's clean this tree up. I brought, really I don't use any snips for this type of work. This is actually my grafting knife, and this is what I use for this job. I'll go in here and snip some of these things out. And this one's actually coming. Yeah, that's a weed. Of course, you can see the vegetation, and that'll be a little different topic, but the vegetation growth here is something we'll have to deal with now too. Getting into June, we've definitely got some more competition now for moisture and somewhat for nutrients. So we'll need to get, I didn't tip out the leader on this tree. That was a leaf that had some damage, but I'm going to tip this one out. Okay, this is a competition right here for that central shoot. So let's tip this one, and we'll leave this one to grow up tall. Maybe get to this top wire by the end of the summer. Now if I clean this vegetation out just a little bit, you get just a little better idea of how that looks now. All the growth you see is coming off of the graft, and we've got a central leader to grow taller. Now we simply need to continue this. Come out here maybe once a month for the rest of the summer and look at these grafts and get rid of any of that competition growing below the graft from the rootstock. Let's go have a look at the other one that we did on the line. Okay, so right here is our next graft that we did on video, as indicated by the orange tape. And right below here we see our tree. Down here's our rootstock. I don't think you can see that on camera, but this is where we grafted. Can't quite get the angle with this on a tripod, but right down here's where we grafted, and this is all growth from the graft. Again, we'll need to select that central leader, which is going to be this guy. We'll need to snip the tips here, pinch these out. Those are competition. We don't want those growing up and competing. This is the one we want to grow tall this year. Anything below the graft we want to take out. This was just coming off the bottom of the rootstock. Just imagine all of the moisture and nutrients that this sucker was taking out of this graft. It is nearly as tall as the graft itself. That's got to go. So getting rid of that kind of thing, pinching out the competition for a central leader is what we got to do with each and every one of these. So this was another one we did on tape and another take. And I have been through here and looked, and I'm going to say we've got about a 90% success on our grafts. A few of them didn't take, most of them did, so that's always good news. I'm going to go down here through the line. We'll continue. Here I can see this graft has a very long stem growing out from the rootstock. It's this here. You can see where it comes out, and then it broke off that easy. And they typically do. These suckers coming off of the rootstock underneath your grafts, they'll come out real easy. Just give them a snap. There's another one. Give them a snap. Now we'll select a central leader. I like this one. Pinch that one. Now here's my future central leader, as long as a rabbit or something doesn't come around and snip that off. All right, here's a graft that I don't believe I made this year. This is a graft from last year. It wasn't a strong graft, but still, let's get around to the other side. Still, just look at what's growing underneath the graft. Here's the old graft, and you can see it was kind of a weaker graft. There's the scar, and there's where the tissues started to join. So it's not been a real strong grower. It is to the top wire at this point. And all this needs to come off. Again, this is below the graft, so this is rootstock material. We do not want that growing. Just come in here and pinch this stuff off, and it will send all of those nutrients and that moisture now up to the part of the tree that we want to grow, up here. Okay, and then unfortunately, you'll get one of these now and then. This was not grafted this year. It was grafted last year, very weak. I let it go. I thought it would probably survive, just be a slow grower. It did not survive. Here's one that has done very well. It grew a lot last year. It's growing a lot this year, but even then, we get down here and need to take this stuff off. This is growing on the rootstock underneath the graft. Here is the graft. Here is the graft union, and even a piece this low could come off, but I'll keep it. It'll be all right. This one here looks okay. This one here needs some help. This is a new graft. The graft was made right down here. It's a little dirty and a little hard to see, but there it is. And I did take off a piece from the rootstock, a sucker that you may not have just seen there. But the rest of that is coming off of the graft, and I'll simply pinch this tip and leave this piece to grow up as a central leader. Okay, the next one. You can see that's coming off of the rootstock, that sucker down there. We don't want that. It's not going to help us in any way. Just pinch it off. Get rid of it, and then look at what we've got up here. This tree is at the second wire and nearly to the third wire. So how about that? We'll do the same with this one, nearly to the third wire. All this is great stuff. All this is beautiful growth. We get down here, nope, we don't want to see this big mass of vegetation towards the bottom of the rootstock. We want to get rid of that. So, come in here, pull that off, basically 2 shoots. I'll go ahead and take this off. This is actually a fruit spur. That would have been a fruit for next year, which really too low to make a fruit, but there you have it. We'll do one more on video here. Let's do 2 more because this one needs some help. A couple down here at the base. Ground's getting pretty dry. Had a whole lot of rain lately. Okay, there's a graft in here somewhere. This is a little interesting. Now, this is a bark graft. Let's get you in there. Okay, this is a bark graft. I don't know if you can see, but this is the side where the graft went in. This is the central leader of the rootstock that we cut. Simply cut it in half, stuck this piece of signwood in on the side of that cut, taped it in, and now we've got some pretty good growth coming out of that, but we don't want this competition underneath. So everything below that graft comes out. And there's quite a bit there. Okay, I've kind of been saving this job. It would have been nice to have done this a week or two ago. I've kind of been saving this until I got an opportunity to do it on video. It's, you clean this stuff up and boy, it'll just rejuvenate the growth in these grafts and get you some more growth while you've got time here in the summer. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll go through down the line here and just continue looking at these grafts. Now, I mentioned the rye. You can see there's still a lot of rye in here. I'm going to say that a lot of this was some of the plants that hadn't formed a seed head yet when I came through and whacked this stuff down. So then it kind of did its thing. I'll let it go just a bit longer, but the day's coming real soon when I'm going to get in here and clean up all the vegetation before we really get some competition in here that we don't want. I can put a grass killer in here and not affect the apple trees at all. Kill the grass, which would include the rye, and then I'd have to come back with something a little stronger for the broadleaves. This is a mess right here. There's the graft. Okay, this was actually a really big whip and tongue graft. It was a large diameter scion. And I love grafting large diameter scion wood on whip and tongue. Seems like they just have so much more vigor. Well, it's trying to grow, but all of this stuff around it is stealing away from it. So not anymore. Not after today. And then we'll come back. I mean, if you just look at all of that. That's what was taking energy away from our future apple tree. Now here's one that unfortunately the tip didn't make it. This is last year's graft, and this growth here probably didn't harden off good enough. It came out this spring very weak. I tied it to the wire and it just didn't make it. So we've still got good growth down here. We'll find a central leader to get up there when we maybe get just a little more length out of it, and we'll tie it up. So it is June 7th in the orchard, and I broke a sweat again. Looking really forward to seeing how this looks when I clean up the vegetation. These trees get a little more growth on them. It's going to be a lot of fun. Right over here, this is next year's trellis job. Okay, I did go through here last weekend and I sprayed around these rootstocks. Yep, they're in there. Now there's one. Go over here, here's one. These are not grafted. Here's one. I'll graft them next year. But this is the row. That's kind of how it looks after you clean up that vegetation and take all that competition away from these trees. And hopefully get these to climb up very similar to the rows that I just showed you. They started just like that last year. What you see here started like that last year. Now we have some work to do to get these up just a little bit higher this year. Looks like we're going to need some little more tension on these wires too. Hey, thanks for watching.